What's good, my people? Welcome back to EMGM Sports. It's me, your boy Enzo. I'm back again. I hope you're having a good day. Chris Eubank Jr. was back in action after a 12-month layoff. Yeah, he fought some random guy. I don't even know how to pronounce the guy's name. I think it's Zerameta, some Polish guy. Yeah, interesting fight from Chris Eubank. For me personally, I think he fought well. He boxed, well behind the jab and everything like that. We can't really judge Chris Eubank too much on this fight just because of the level of the opponent. You know what I mean? This guy, Zerameta, whatever his name is, like he's not world class, he's not elite. So I'll be honest, I've never heard of the guy, so I can't really judge where Chris Eubank Jr. is at this moment of time in his career. Look, he's 35 years old now, so he's getting on a bit. He needs to start stepping up now and taking some of these big fights. I've heard he's been avoiding a few fights, the Canelo fight, etc., etc. So I'm not really sure where Chris Eubank is at this moment of time, but overall, my assessment of his fight, he started well. He knocked the guy down in the first round. And then, knocked him down about 3 times after that, and then, finished him off with a body shot. To be fair to Zarameta, he did get back up. But the referee, he stopped the fight. The referee's seen enough. I don't really think Zarameta, was gonna win that fight anyway. I think he lost those 6, 7 rounds, however many rounds they had. Yeah, I think he got stopped in the 7th round. So yeah, he was the referee had seen enough, and that was it. Murder she wrote. But the fight was actually more entertaining afterwards. You know what I mean? Conor Benn, his arch nemesis, came into the ring with Neymar Jr. I don't know why Neymar was in the ring, but listen, for me it was entertaining. It's becoming a bit like WWE. Do you know what I mean? Just like a little wrestling thing, Let's. I don't know if them two, Chris Eubank, Conor Benn, I don't know if they like spoke to each other before the fight. If this was like organized, it seems like it was all set up. Do you know what I mean? Because the way like Neymar Jr. was pushed to the front, like Neymar Jr. Neymar, he was put in a ring, like in the middle between those two, like a mediator or something like that. Like they were using his image like to promote that fight. And yeah, that makes me laugh, man. Do you know what I mean? That makes me laugh. That definitely seems like it was staged. Conor Benn was all blood in his mouth and blah blah blah. Do you know what I mean? Like, yo, let's get it on. Chris Eubank Jr. was saying, yo, sign the contract, whatever. They were going back and forth, and then they start clashing. Conor Benn, pushed his head onto Chris Eubank Jr. and then he all kicked off and security got involved in between them, and then he all got separated. But what I wanna say is, listen, these two guys, their career at the moment is in a stalemate. Do you know what I mean? Like they're not the progression that we all thought that Conor Benn was gonna make in his career is like we haven't seen it. And ever since he got done for that doping, what not done, but ever since his doping scandal, he hasn't really cleared his name with the British boxing council, whatever you call them, the British Board of Control, British Boxing Board of Control, whatever the code. He hasn't really cleared his name, has he? Do you know what I mean? I'm sure. I heard that he was found not guilty, by the World Doping Association or whatever, one of those agencies around the world. They found that Conor Benn wasn't guilty or whatever, so he was cleared. But with the British Boxing Board of Control, he hasn't been cleared. So Conor Benn has to go sit in front of them and clear his name so that he could be licensed to fight in the UK again. Because at the moment, he hasn't fought in the UK. He's been fighting in America, Florida, Miami, whatever. He hasn't fought in the UK yet. So I would like to see Conor Benn, yeah, go in front of the panel, whatever he needs to do, he has to do it to clear his name. Because one thing you can't fool the public. And look, Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn will be a big fight. It will be a big fight simply because of who their fathers were. Do you know Chris? Nigel Benn. Chris Eubank Sr., they had wars. Do you know what I mean? They're legends in British boxing. So because of that, because of those names, the Eubank name, the Benn name, those two families, we all want to see that clash. We want to see who's going to come on top. I want to see that fight. Even though them two, the weight difference is like, it's crazy. Conor Benn, I think, is the natural, 147 pounder fighter. And Chris Eubank, he's fought, I think, as far as, is this super middleweight? So he's fought like, what, 168? He's now fighting at 160 middleweight. Like, it's kind of crazy. I don't know where they're gonna meet. Conor Benn did suggest that when he was in the ring, he did say that, listen, I'll come up and meet you. I'll come up in way and meet you. So Conor Benn is willing to do whatever it takes in terms of like putting his body through the physical pain and everything like that to make the fight with Chris Eubank. But one thing he's not doing is trying to clear his name with a board, British Boxing Board of Control, whatever. Man, I need to get his name right. Man. But yeah, Conor Benn needs to go clear his name with them. That's what he needs to do first. He needs to go and sit in front of that panel, prove his innocence, yeah, show that he's not guilty, he wasn't doping, whatever. And let's all move on and let's get this fight cracking, because the longer this saga goes on, Conor Benn, his career is just going downhill. Do you know what I mean? He can't fight in the UK, where the UK is where the fan base is for these two guys. Chris Eubank Jr., Conor Benn, their fans are mainly in the UK. I don't think these two guys are worldwide superstars. Do you know what I mean? I don't think they can sell out arenas in America or other places. So they'll sell out Wembley if they were to fight in the UK. If Conor Benn, clears his name, that fight could happen. Because it's a big fight. Like I said, both families are massive in the UK. Do you know what I mean? Their parents have great legacies here in the UK. So why not? Why not go clear your name, Conor Benn, and give us the fight that all the fans want to see? Because the British fans, they want to see you clear your name. We all want to see you clear your name, mate. I want to see you clear your name. Because I feel like you got great potential. Do you know what I mean? You're super talented. I like the way you fight. You're relentless. I love the way you throw your punches. Do you know what I mean? It's just an aggressive type of fighter Conor Benn is, and I want to see him fight more. I want to see him fight in the UK. I want to see him in the big fights. And Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Promotions need to make it happen. You need to force this kid to go in front of the panel and clear his name. Stop beating around the bush. This shit's been going on long enough. It's time that we stop it and get this young man getting fights, man. Because look, he's wasting his career, man. Do you know what I mean? He's wasting his career. Chris Eubank is now 35 years old. He's not gonna have many more opportunities left at the big time, at the world stage, big fights to make big money. And it's not like it's all his fault. Do you know what I mean? He didn't take drugs or whatever. He didn't get banned by the British Boxing Board of Control. He's all right, but he's getting on with age. Like, he's not gonna fight Canelo. You know what I mean? I don't know what other big fights that are out there really that will engage the public to really support Chris Eubank Jr. And I feel sorry for Chris Eubank Jr. because he's been through so much lately in his personal life. You know what I mean? His brother passed away. Him and his father, his dad, Chris Eubank Sr., are not on speaking terms. They don't have a great relationship. I don't agree necessarily with the way Chris Eubank Sr. has treated his son in the media. Like, some of the things that he said, called him a charlatan, like, he got a bit nasty in one moment. You know what I mean? He got a bit nasty. And I don't like to see that. Look, these are, family issues, father and son. I don't really like to get too much into it, but I feel sorry for Chris Eubank Jr., because I feel like he's never been loved by the British public, man. I don't know whether that's because everyone thinks like he had a pampered life and everyone thinks like he doesn't deserve to be where he is, because I think people in their minds are like, yo, the only reason why you're there is because of who your dad is, and sometimes that's unfair. Do you know what I mean? We can't judge children. We can't, judge children just because of who their father was. Do you know who their father is or was, whatever. Like, Chris Eubank, I wouldn't say he's the most skilled boxer out there. I wouldn't call him an elite fighter, but he's got heart. Do you know what I mean? He's got passion, determination. He goes out there and he fights, man. He leaves it all out there in the ring, whether he wins, loses, or gets knocked out. When you watch Chris Eubank Jr., he's gonna come and fight, man. Do you know what I mean? He's gonna come and fight. He's had some big fights, but he is the only concern is whenever he stepped up. Do you know what I mean? When he fought George Groves, when he fought Billy Joe Saunders, he's come up short. Do you know what I mean? He's come up short, and that's when people like kind of like judge Chris Eubank a bit harshly. He fought James DeGale, beat him, but then again, people say, "Yo, James DeGale was on a downhill anyway. James DeGale was at the end of his career, so that doesn't count." I feel like that's a little bit unfair. I think it's a little bit unfair on Chris Eubank Jr. I think he deserves a bit more respect from people because I feel like there's a fighter in there. The only other issues I have with Chris Eubank Jr. is that he keeps changing coaches. Like he'll go from one coach to the other. His last fight against Liam Smith, I think he had Bomac in his corner. Do you know what I mean? The same guy that trains Terence Crawford. Like he had him in his corner for one fight. Then before that, he had Virgil Hunter. Like, mate, listen, one thing you need to do is you need to stop changing your boxing coach because all these guys want to impose their style on you. Do you know what I mean? And I've heard Chris Eubank saying, on a few occasions that he doesn't need a coach. Like, he does not need a coach. He can do everything himself. Listen, everybody needs a coach, man. You need that guidance in the ring. You need someone to analyze fights. You need someone to bring in the right sparring partners for you. Of course, you need a coach, man. And try and stick. Now, he's in for this fight against Zerameta. He had Jonathan Banks in his corner. And I hope he sticks with him for a few fights because, look, you're 35 years old now. Stick to one coach, do you know what I mean? So that he can implement their style on you so that you can really be effective in fights, especially when you go for big fights, someone like a Conor Benn or whatever. You're gonna need a stable, what can I say? Like you're gonna need a coach that you've built some form of relationship with. Do you know what I mean? Because that's gonna be so important and so vital. You can't be changing coaches and then going into big fights. And do you know what I mean? Just it's not a good look and it's not good for you as a fighter because I feel like you're being confused. You know what I mean? One minute you want to be Roy Jones, the next minute you want to be Manny Pacquiao, like the next minute you want to be Canelo. Like, listen, stick to one coach, develop a style and stick to that, and you know what I mean, and just crack on with it. Yeah, man. So that is it for Conor Benn, Chris Eubank. Oh yeah, it was funny because Conor Benn was saying, listen, when Conor Benn got in that ring, he was saying to Chris Eubank Jr. was saying to me, listen, I will knock you the hell out. Do you know what I mean? Like after seeing that performance, the way he struggled against this guy, like Zerameta, the Polish guy, like listen, if that guy can touch you up, can hit you, because Zerameta was hitting Chris Eubank. He was touching him as well, like catching him with the right hand jabs and do you know what I mean? I think the cut on Chris Eubank was probably like an accidental headbutt, but he was still like Zerameta still had a little bit of success. Like Chris Eubank didn't have it all his own way, even though he was a dominant performance, but he was getting hit as well. So Conor Benn was right to say that, listen, if that guy can do that to you, imagine what I can do. Because Conor Benn has the speed. Do you know what I mean? He will definitely be the faster guy. And he has power. Whether he can carry that power up to 160 or whatever weight that they fight at is yet to be seen. But Conor Benn is ferocious. Do you know what I mean? He is vicious with his punches. Do you know what I mean? But the only thing as well, the downside is Conor Benn hasn't really faced any elite opponents or any top class fighters of late. So we don't really know where Conor Benn is in terms of his performance ability wise. Do you know what I mean? We don't really know where he stands right now because we haven't seen him get in there in the ring with someone who can also fight back, with someone who match him for everything. So that's yet to be seen. Do you know what I mean? That is yet to be seen. But it's all up to Conor Benn. If he can go to the British Boxing Board of Control and prove his innocence, then that fight is on and we can get it on a Wembley or whatever. But I'm sure Eddie Hearn, Matt Troom, and everyone else involved, especially Riyadh Season, Turkey Al Sheikh, I'm sure they don't need the British Boxing Board of Control to be involved for them to get that fight on. But it will look so bad, didn't it? It will leave a bad taste in people's mouths. It will leave a kind of little stain on British boxing. If these two fighters, don't forget who their fathers are. Chris Eubank Sr., Nigel Benn, these are legends in British boxing. Now, if that fight between their sons happen and Conor Benn hasn't cleared his name with the British Boxing Board of Control, he will leave a little, he will taint the legacy. I think so. I feel like it will taint the legacy. I feel like that fight can happen. It will happen, but it has to be under the the conditions that Conor Benn has cleared his name with the British Boxing Board British Boxing Board of Control. He has to clear his name first of all. Do you know what I mean? Has to clear his name, and once he clears his name, it's so good. We can all go, but until then, these two fighters, you know, I feel like their career is just a stalemate. Do you know what I mean? Like Chris Eubank Junior, I don't know who's gonna fight next. I don't know what other fights are there for him. If you do, let me know in the comments. Drop a name. I'll really appreciate that. And Conor Benn, where does he go? Because then he needs a dancing partner, man. And the public is losing interest in these guys. Do you know what I mean? Their reputation is on the downside at the moment, so they need to pick it up. And the only way I see them two picking it up is by fighting each other. If they don't fight each other, where do these two really go? Who's really interested in them? Do you know what I mean? I don't want to see them fight any more bums. Fight each other or fight someone else that's elite. That's the only fights I want to see, especially Chris Eubank Jr., now 35 years old, is not getting any younger, and the opportunities for him out there are slim pickings, man. Slim pickings. So, yeah, that's it, man. That's all for these two guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you want to see that fight? I want to see that fight, but Conor Benn has to clear his name first with the British Boxing Board of Control. Otherwise, I don't want to see that fight because yeah, I just feel like we taint their fathers' legacies, and I respect both their fathers, and I don't want to see their legacies tainted because of their children. So, yeah, listen, that's me done now. Don't forget, if you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe. Share the video. I really appreciate it. You're helping the channel to grow. I'll be back again with another video. I'm gonna be actually covering the Fabio Wardley versus Fraser Clark fight. That was epic. It was crazy, the knockout and everything like that. Listen, stay tuned. Come back to EMGM Sports. I really appreciate you for watching this. It's your boy Enzo. Until the next one, peace.